Hey guys, what's up? This is Ari with Literary Gladiators. Hope you guys are having a good day. So today I'm going to be going over a Agatha Christie book that now has some relevance to it since a new movie with Kenneth Branagh is coming out. It's called the name of the movie is called A Haunting in Venice, but there is no Agatha Christie book named A Haunting in Venice. So if you are looking for the story that it is based off of, that would be Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. This is relatively late in the Poirot years. It is near the end of his time as being a detective, but not like all the way at the end. It's not like in Labors of Hercules and Curtain area, but it's late. And this one, I think I can understand why they wanted to rename and say it was a rebrand of the story, because this story might be one of the darkest and most dangerous territories that Agatha Christie actually writes in. It's very hard, and there's a couple reasons for this, as I will get into when it comes to my review. So, I'm not going to give away too much, but in order to appreciate some of the things that happens, I do have to name some of the characters possibly, and also just in general name some of the plot. But there's a small village, and it has a Halloween party for kids. And one of the kids claims, while they're at the party, that they've seen a murder. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know it was a murder at the time, but yeah, it was a murder." And then, of course, not surprisingly, that child is murdered. Now, the first important thing we should always say about mysteries is you don't kill children, but Agatha Christie was willing to go into a range that was very different. And so I think, when you have a murder of a child in a mystery book, that's very, you know, different. With modern mysteries these days, you rarely have that. If you do, you're treading into territory that's not exactly friendly for mystery writers to be in. But just a reminder that this book was written, I believe, in the 50s, if my numbers are correct. I can just check real quick. I'm pretty sure. So this version was published in 69. Um, I'm pretty sure that the um, the book may have been in like the late 50s, early 60s. So it's a little unclear. Maybe it is 69. I'm not sure, but this was one, like I said, one of the later books. You have the return of Ariadne Oliver, who is a friend of Poirot's, who is an author. She pops up in this. She's not really a suspect, although I mean she's a very good friend. You've got a bunch of different families in this small village. The mother is of one of the children is Rowena Drake. You've also got a couple of other people like Miss Whitaker. She is a organist for the local church. Um, and then of course there's Michael Garfield, the gardener, and there was the what's the guy's name, the pastor, and he had this program where he would bring people from overseas to help with stuff in like, we're not necessarily overseas, but over different countries to help with stuff. And one of the people that helped was named Olga Semenoff, and she's also important for um, this as well. Now it starts out that there were like three. The murder that the girl that was killed was witnessed could have been three different issues, but it turns out that some of them were murders and some of them were not, and it's like a combination of different things. So you have to read it to find out. But overall, the reason why this book is very, very dark, not just for an Agatha Christie book, but in general, is because it goes through three very difficult things in it. And I wouldn't necessarily it's all dark, but it's a tough read. Number one, it does talk about, like I mentioned, with the death of a child. A child is actually being actively murdered in the story. As a matter of fact, there may be more than one. So the fact that you even have children being murdered at all is a pretty serious issue, and it's very rarely written by authors these days. Number two is you do have some bits and pieces about having to hide your sexuality. There's one character, I'm not going to say who it is, but she really loved someone of the same sex. And of course, back then it was very, it wasn't really something you could say to your next door neighbor or someone down the street. It was very hidden back then. So obviously, that can come into play. And then the third is the most interesting. Talks about spiritualism, specifically when you're talking about spiritualism, you're talking about like Satanism. We're talking about like working with the devil to have certain things happen. And this story, you actually have someone, not going to say who, is actually going to try and sacrifice a child to please the Satanistic gods. And it's really, really dark. I mean, you wouldn't expect this from an Agatha Christie story, but that's really, really what it happens in this one. And to go into this territory, I mean, at the time, I mean, Agatha Christie was probably just writing, but if you think back on it now, this is tough territory to really be writing about, which makes this all the more interesting. But there's a natural reason why the movie coming out, Haunting in Venice, is only somewhat based off of the story with like characters like Ariadne Oliver is going to be in the movie, but it's not quite the same as this. This is if they made this into a movie, they probably wouldn't because it would probably be stopped or it would probably be like rated M or R or something. Um, it would be a very tough movie for people to accept. I think this book is known to be a bit mixed when it comes to the reviews of Agatha Christie fans and book fans all over, just because of how sensitive the plot is with this book. However, what I have to say about this story, Agatha Christie's Halloween Party, what I have to say about it is this. It is unlike any other Agatha Christie. There is no Agatha Christie that's going to come close to the, directions that she comes in this one. And if you are interested in stories that try to do things that most stories would not do, like most mysteries, like go into territories that you've never really seen certain books or genres go into, this might be your thing, honestly. It's not just even that you have those three things I mentioned earlier, it's just in general, a lot of the things that happened were, very unconventional, and even the killer, who again I'm not going to mention who it is, but the killer, it turns out he or she just does it because he or she thought one thing and it actually was something completely different, and he or she didn't realize. And it's complete misunderstanding and miscommunication, but in a way it's done where uh, it's not even miscommunication. It's more like just the desire to have something, and your desire goes so far that you think it's real. Like you think desire is like bona fide. It's actually real. But I would recommend, yes, I would. I know the reviews are mixed, but if you like stories, especially by famous authors like Agatha Christie or any of the others, that kind of try new things, go in different directions, are a little bit dark. If you're interested in how Satanism was kind of a thing in the 50s and 60s, actually probably even earlier because the time period was earlier here, but like how that kind of works out and how it really tells a lot about interesting things that were happening during that time period. And it really is a good mystery in and of itself. The only warning I want to give about it is that yes, there are children that die in the story, but if you can get past that, like, yeah, it is definitely young. They're not like young children, they're like almost adults, but still, I mean, it still kind of counts. And I still think it's a wonderful book to read. It's not our best, but it's definitely one that goes into a different territory, I think, than we are used to Agatha Christie. Like this is not Ackroyd. This is not Orient Express, although that was very different as well. This isn't like Murder on the Links. This is very very different when it comes to content and what the characters feel and because it happens in a small village, it's almost impossible to keep secrets, and Poirot finds them out relatively quickly. So, for those of you who are interested in seeing uh, the movie that Kenneth Branagh is doing, There's not a lot based off the trailer anyway. There's not a lot that seems to be similar from the book other than the character names and maybe just the general thing about mysticism and Satanism, but this is a very different story for Agatha Christie. I personally think she did a really good job on this one. I think it wasn't received as well because of these differences, but now that we're in a different time period, we're in the 21st century now, I think it can be viewed differently. I think it can be read, perceived differently. I would give Halloween Party probably a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. Like I said, there are definitely Agatha Christie's that I would think are generally come up better, but this is a good one because it's a different approach, and it really is hard to figure out who did it until you get near the end of the book, just because of the way the information is laid out in this book. And I mean, naturally, when a child is murdered, you want to find out who did it, which makes it even more interesting for this one. So, yeah, I would give this an 8 out of 10. I think Halloween Party is a underrated Agatha Christie, one that people haven't really put too much into, but it is definitely interesting. And I think it is worth taking a look at. Like I said, there are some really difficult bits in it, but you can get past that. If you can stay strong, you will read one of Agatha Christie's most underrated and strong and different stories. Um, and like I said, this was near the end of her tenure. I think trying these new things was great, and it's kind of the reason why she is one of the most best-selling authors of all time. So this is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. If you'd like to get this book, you can find it very easily, I would think, at Barnes and Noble. This particular copy I've had for it's my mom's copy actually, but this particular version I think came out in '76, and I think my mom probably got it in Jerusalem, or if she didn't get it in Jerusalem, she probably got it after that. If it's '76, there's even a coupon in here. There's a coupon in here for get 15 amazing new mysteries for only $1. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that coupon's probably expired, right? And it's a magazine that featured John D. MacDonald, Agatha Christie, J.J. Marek. Wow. Okay. Oh God. Yeah. Look at this. You think this has expired yet? Anyway, you could find an updated version of this in your local Barnes and Noble or bookstores. With the whole thing about Haunting in Venice coming out, I think this is actually going to be probably more prominent in your bookstores now. So now might be the best time to try and find it. If around September, October of 2023 would be a very good time to try and find the story. Anyway, I'm Ari, and thank you for joining me today on Literary Gladiators. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I don't put these notices at the bottom for no reason, of course. Definitely subscribe to our channel. You've got a lot of different, people who do videos like this. You've got me, you've got Josh, you've got Lucy, you've got Charles, Larry, Jesse, everyone. We all chip in very, very heavily on this channel. And make sure if you really enjoy the stuff we're doing, join us on Patreon. You can find the link in the description below. I'm sure Josh will put it there. And yeah, and I will probably come up with another video in maybe a couple weeks to a month from now. But until then, keep reading. And this is a book that I think you should probably give it a shot. Give it a shot. All right, guys, I will see you later.